Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel Strike Force here today on Friday. We are not going to be doing a traditional blog post video here today because a lot of the stuff that's in there is stuff that I have already talked about in previous videos in the data mines, specifically the frozen dimension, the temporal cataclysm, which is going to be that really hard trials event. Catch my videos from yesterday when I talked about the nodes. That's still going to be happening next Thursday. But there's two things that I do want to cover in today's video is going to be the specific requirements for the frozen dimension, which in my okay, so you don't need the absolute A-Force. They are usable in this. However, it's of my opinion that because of my reveal on this, that it was privately backpedaled in the Envoy server and just over at Scopely. So you can use them, and if you have Kahori, honestly, I probably still would use her for that. We're going to talk about all that. There is still going to be a lot of characters that you need to use at Purple ISO-3 in order to clear this next week. I don't know how long it's going to be running, but it is going to be part of the scoring method for next week's event, which is going to reward Miss Marvel Classic Phase 1 orbs and shards for her directly, apparently. So we're going to see, but we don't actually have the rewards on hand until it shows up, in-game or on the web on msf.gg. We're also going to be talking about my reveals of the confirmations of the two teams. I don't know why I did that. It looks like two teams for the Spotlight Raid 2. I'm honestly really shocked that the Envoys have not revealed at this point Uncanny Avengers and the Immortal X-Men, because the Immortal X-Men is the future team that's going to be on the Cosmic Crucible season starting like this weekend, right? So absolutely insane. It's already in the data mines anyways. All that and more in today's video. So if you're ready to go, let's boil this down. Okay, let's just get to this. This is so for the Frozen. This is Frozen Dimension. The Frozen Dimension on the Annihilator side of things is Annihilator Cosmic, like I spoke about in my video, requiring gear tier up to 18. I'm pretty sure in order to clear that. As far as the absolute A-Force side, it's like the other Pocket Dimensions where it's like side, you alternate as you go across. There's like 25 nodes. So you can see here that it requires absolute A-Force or tech using ISO. I mentioned this in my other video. I thought that the information that I had at the time was that it was 3 absolute A-Force, and then you could fill in with tech. Like I said, I do believe that they backpedaled this, so it could be absolute A-Force or tech, obviously, because we don't have Kahori unlocked free to play yet. We only had the 25 free shards, plus a little bit of farming. Now, if you look as you go through along, though, where it starts to get purple ISO here at the quote-unquote hard missions, and then purple 2, actually, at the hard boss missions, and then, so you do need that. And then once you get to the legendary mission, this is interesting because it's absolute A-Force or legendary characters at ISO purple level 3. So while A-Force is not required anymore, though, it is still important to understand how many legendary characters do you actually have or will have at purple ISO 3. Because for me, it's only Old Man Logan and Shadow King. These are the only legendary characters that I have at purple ISO 3. So even for me, I'm going to have to upgrade some additional characters to purple 3. Now, that being said, if you looked at my other, if I go back to the absolute A-Force again, I do have Kahori and Wasp. No, yeah, I did upgrade Wasp. So I do have Kahori and Wasp at purple 3. And then I have Old Man Logan and Shadow King. And then, because I'm pretty sure you need 5, but maybe you only need 3. It hasn't. Maybe I don't know the full details here. I know it's at least 3. Could be up to 5 characters, though. I'm pretty sure. Which means that if that's the case, then I'm gonna have to upgrade one more character. I'm gonna maybe Black Bolt. Like, as far as other characters who are close enough, it would be Black Bolt, right? Who's level 100 anyways. So I think that's probably what I'm gonna have to do for my purple ISO 3. Now, the difference is, though, is that I am in a position where I'm post Odin, right? Like, I got 5 million ions. It's not really that big of a deal. It is a little bit of a deal because apparently I don't have enough purple crystals, so I would have to open some more of the orbs and hope that I have some orbs that I can open to get those crystals. And it looks like I do. I have like 69 orbs that I can open, so I can probably get him there. We don't know what the rewards are, though. So are they going to refund us the purple ISO and the crystals that we are using to upgrade some of these characters, the jury's out on that one. And so, despite it not requiring absolute A Force, it almost wants you to do that, right? They want you to upgrade Kahori, and I heard Wasp is really good. I heard that she like kicks the shit out of Odin in war. So maybe this wasn't a terrible upgrade for me. Now, if you go further down, it's also then we have absolute A Force or mythic characters at purple level 3. This one is not that bad, especially if you're kind of like, again, if you're post Odin, right? You know, or working your way there. So let's see, how many do I have? I have 4. So this should be fine because I actually have 6 characters now. I have Kahori, Wasp, Super Skrull, Apoc, Mephisto, and Odin. Now, if you don't have Odin, though, you know, you have Mephisto, Apocalypse, Skrull. And the problem is that Ultimus is not a character you're taking into Dark Dimension 8, right? Neither is Kestrel. So this is a little bit of a sticking point. Still, even though you do not need to purple 3 your A-Force, it feels like they want you to do this because by and large, the requirements are just still, there's still a lot of characters, right? You know, if you completely scrap A-Force, you're looking at, you know, legendary characters and mythic characters here required to be a purple 3. Luckily, though, that these do double, some of these double dip, right? You know, Mephisto you're using in DD8, Apocalypse you're using in DD8 probably, and Super Skrull you're using in DD8 probably. I say that because it's Cosmic Legendary, you know, it depends on what you end up using. This is the usual route is Mephisto, Apoc, Skrull. Mephisto, Skrull, Apoc's actually in Global Villain, I forgot. Thanos Endgame and blah, 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 blah. So Kahori's still a good pick. If you have Kahori unlocked, if you cored for her, like I mentioned in my Should You Core video, then she's still a solid pick to choose for this event. And then finally, the last boss, the very last boss to finish this up, Absolute A-Force Annihilators or tech characters at purple ISO 3. Okay? Again, the Annihilators shouldn't be that big of a problem, you know, right? Because you should have them. Their character... well, so Thanos you should have, right? Gladiator was something that I used in my DD8 because of the characters that were available at the time. I actually cleared it with Gladiator and it wasn't really a big deal. Gore I ended up doing later. I did not actually use in DD8 for this reason, but I had a lot of extra ISO later on and I did eventually upgrade him. So at least these 2, right? And so then that brings you into tech. If you need to fill the gap, actually, sorry, just Thanos, I guess, if you want as your main one. So then you still have to fill the gap with tech. And what does that leave you with? Mostly Orcus, honestly. And that's the same with the rest of this shit for the A-Force side, A-Force or tech. A lot of this is pivoting to Orcus because these are the characters that you're going to be using for purple ISO in the global villain section. So that's going to be your Lady Deathstrike. That's going to be your Scientist Supreme. It's going to be your Nimrod, right? You know, those are the 3 characters. I have Sentinel also at purple ISO 3. But by and large, for sure, it's going to be like Nimrod, Scientist Supreme, Lady Deathstrike, Thanos Endgame. If you have Kahori, I would use her. Some people may have Hank Pym from the Global Hero section at purple 3. Some people may have Penny Parker at purple 3 from the City Hero section of DD8. So there are some more additional options here for sure that you actually, now that I think about it, especially when you add in Hank Pym or Penny Parker for sure, right? Like you kind of have to do that. That there should be some characters that you can use. A lot of people did use Vulture as well for City Villain. I did anyways. So there is a good amount of choice here. In fact, you might not even need, there might be enough tech. There should be enough tech for those people who have done DD8. If you have not, this might be a small struggle. Where I think that this will struggle the most will be the legendary section, because you even saw on my roster that if you were to subtract the absolute A-Force, that I actually only have 2 legendary characters at purple 3. So this would be a lot of purple wastage, I suppose, for people who do not have Odin yet. So this is going to be one of these events where you're going to have to look at the rewards when it comes out and see whether or not that has enough value for you. Also, it seems that when you go on cooldown down here, you have 48 hours before you start your second run. Why 48 hours? Is that because they're kind of wondering whether or not the game's going to fuck up? I don't know if you guys remember the last Pocket Dimension, but where you could run it infinitely every 24 hours. They end up leaving it up that way. So I'm definitely going to be completing this like as soon as it comes out. I'm going to try, right? And then just in case that there's some sort of bug related to this, because I would not be surprised in the slightest. This is set to launch on Wednesday, So that 48 hours would then become like Friday at 1 p.m. I guess there's time that they could fix this, right? If there is something fucked up. Okay, so the second thing that I want to talk about in this video is going to be talking related to Spotlight Raid 2. This information is not publicly available yet. I don't know when they are going to, because they have not even announced the Immortal X-Men and Uncanny Avengers, which is absolutely wild. But I do want to tell you today that, well, obviously, that Uncanny Avengers is going to be the second Spotlight Raid 2 team. I've already mentioned this before, so this should come as to no surprise. And just a recap as to those characters, it's going to be Storm, it's going to be Beast, it's going to be Falcon, and it's going to be Jean Grey and Hercules, who are in the data mines now, actually. In fact, if you check it out on my Discord server, I don't know if I think I glossed over it in my video yesterday, I believe. So those two, and again, the fact that it's in the data mines, I mean, this part more like, because I've been talking about it for a while, basically more or less confirms it. I don't know why the Envoys haven't been able to talk about it. Absolutely crazy. Maybe there's going to be some sort of gameplay playtest reveal on the weekend. We'll see. So that's Uncanny Avengers. They are going to be Team 2 for the Spotlight Raid 2 team. My recommendation personally, I think it's going to be, I don't know when it's going to drop, maybe early January, end of December, probably early January at this point. I would save your power cores, however, for Jean Grey and Hercules both, because if it's like the Alpha Flight team, that you're going to need, when you're waiting for Sasquatch, because you need all 5 members in order to start the raid nodes. And so that's why I want to make sure that I have both of these characters unlocked so I can start doing those nodes ASAP. And speaking of Alpha Flight, I do want to give you, this is like a 99% pretty much at this point, that Alpha Flight is going to continue to be the Spotlight Raid 2 team. They have essentially just shuffled it down. The conveyor, I wasn't sure if that's what they were going to do or not, because a lot of people did skip Night Stalkers. If you had Odin, a lot of people did skip on building Oath and Man Thing. And so, I thought that maybe they would do something differently, but no, it appears that they're just conveyor belting down the path. So Spider Society is being kicked out. Now Alpha Flight is moving into the Team 1 position. So that's unfortunate, because for teams, characters like my alt account, or my accounts like my alt account, does not have as much built into Alpha Flight. If you do, great. You're going to still make some usage out of this. Whether or not I need to raise them up any higher, like the G19, is Spotlight Raid 2 going to be harder necessarily? I don't know. I don't have those answers. What I am hoping for is that Spotlight Raid 2 will have the start of the next progression, which would be Gear Tier 20. I'm hoping, because the way that Gear Tier 19 was released was actually Spotlight Raid 1 was the first place to get it before Orcus Raid came out. So I'm hoping that Spotlight 2 will give the new G20 in the new year, at least by January, and then we'll slow roll that into Orcus 2 at some point in like February or March, something like that. So the jury's a little bit out as to whether or not you need to upgrade these characters any further if the difficulty is spiking on Spotlight 2. One thing that I will say, though, is that there is a possibility that purple ISO is a requirement for this, but I'm pretty sure right now it's just blue 5. I wouldn't be surprised, however, if this goes up to, say, purple 1 or purple 2, which honestly isn't that hard to do anyways. So you don't need to do that right now. Just keep this in the back of your head just in case. I would think that, if we're going up the raids, they're going to like ratchet up the requirements slightly, but maybe they won't. Anyways, again, not doing a whole review of the blog today, because we're going to be doing that over the weekend. We're going to be doing my math video on Sunday, of course, ahead of Monday's event, so stay tuned for that as well. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, both related to Frozen Dimension and the new Spotlight Raid 2 and the reveal of Alpha Flight. If you have not put much resources into Alpha Flight, you will need to do that, because it's basically going to be required still, unfortunately. So that's the end of this video. Everyone, have a great rest of the weekend, or start of the weekend. My bad. I was getting ahead of myself there. And until next time, stay safe and healthy. And I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.